Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. In today's video we're taking a look at Origin Forme Palkia V-Star with Inteleon, just a straight version, in the Lost Origin metagame. I did a video on this already, but with Kieran VMAX, and now we're going to be looking at just like the straight Palkia version that has really still asserted its dominance over the game. Palkia is still as good as ever, even with the new Giratina, Gudra, things like that. I will explain a little bit about those matchups. But first, let's just get into the deck, of course. We have, of course, is based around the Origin Forme Palkia V-Star. The subs-based roll attack that for 2 water energy deals 60 damage, and then 20 more for each bench Pokemon both players have, which is super strong. If you have a bunch of 5 and your opponent has 0, you're hitting 160, which is still 2-shotting everything. So at the very least, you're 2-shotting anything in the game with this Palkia. But your opponent is almost never going to have 0 bench Pokemon. They're usually going to have like 3, maybe even 4, and that's when your damage output's really going to ramp up. And we're going to be able to hit really high numbers using our damage modifications in the form of Choice Belt, Leon, and Galarian and Zigzagoon. And basically, the idea behind the deck is just attack with Palkia, as well as having access to Star Portal, as we attach 3 water energy cards from your discard pile to your water Pokemon any way you like once in your game, to kind of keep the attacks rolling. And we're kind of like, other than that, we kind of have like a bunch of other like attackers. Obviously, we have the Inteleon line for support, but Alkabal is actually a pretty decent attack, which can set something up or finish something off for Palkia, but also deal 20 damage for 1 bench Pokemon, which is pretty good chip damage when you have such drastic damage buffs with Choice Belt and Leon. And then, of course, we're playing 1 Radiant Greninja, which is just an all-around insanely good card. Even more so in this deck because you can actually Star Portal onto the Radiant Greninja and attack with Moonlight Shuriken. So this deck is always threatening snipes onto multiple Pokemon. But Concealed Cards is just insanely powerful. Once you're in your turn, you can discard an energy card from your hand in order to draw 2 cards. Extremely strong. And one of the new additions to the deck is Empoleon V, which has the Emperor's Eyes ability that says as long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent's basic Pokemon to play have no abilities except for Pokemon with a rule box. So basically, a Crobat V will still have an ability because it has a rule box. A Radiant Greninja will still have an ability because it has a rule box. But cards that are really popular like right now, mainly Comfy, but also Regigigas and Mew from Celebrations, are going to be shut off completely by this Empoleon, which makes this Empoleon cover a lot of different matchups. It covers Giratina, it covers Lost Zone Box, it covers Regigigas, it covers Gudra, it covers any Lost Zone thing that anyone wants to try and play will be covered by Empoleon. And the attack is pretty decent as well. For 3 energy, you deal 130 damage, which is going to be one-shotting Comfy's Mews. It's one-shots Radiant Greninja. It one-shots every single Regi except for Regigigas. So pretty decent attack in terms of damage, but you also get to move energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. So if you are in a matchup where this guy is useful, if you Star Portal to the Empoleon V, you're not completely using your Star Portal on just an Empoleon. You can move those energy that you use for the Star Portal onto different Pokemon and still outputting damage with the Empoleon. So the Empoleon is really good in the matchups that it is useful in. It totally shuts down Lost Zone decks, especially in combination with Marnie. That's one of the most powerful combinations in this deck versus Comfy engines is Marnie plus Empoleon, because they're completely shutting off their Comfys. And if they don't have a Crow or a Greninja to play, they might kind of have a hard time drawing through the deck. You know, they only play 4 Chorus usually as a draw supporter. So Empoleon's very good. 1 copy of Galarian Zigzagoon, which I already mentioned briefly, as a damage buff. And basically the reason behind the Zigzagoon is that it's another bench Pokemon, but also Choice Belt adds 30 damage to your attack. And 30 damage makes any even attack, which is what Palkia hits, because it hits in increments of 20, which is an even number. It basically, Choice Belt turns that into an odd number. But Zigzagoon turns that back into an even number. And that's important because almost every single number you want to hit in this format is an even number. You know, 280, 220 mainly come to mind. There's also 310 on Mew, but Mew is a different can of worms in terms of matchup and damage. This deck is very versatile. That's one of the things I've just loved about Palkia since it came out. It's just how versatile this deck is. Putting into our trainer cards, we have 4 Battle VIP pads, which is very standard, I think, at this point. 3 Capacious Bucket, just because you always want to have the ability to get that off of Thurzel or Irida mainly. 4 Cross Switches, so we can gust almost whenever we want, it seems. We can have access to that. 1 copy of Echoing Horn, because it does allow us to make some sneaky plays in terms of taking prizes. One of the main things, like against Gudra, usually what you're going to want to do against Gudra is Cross Switcher something on the bench and then boss up their Goodra again in order to remove the effect of the attack. So then you can just one-shot the Goodra, and then you can Echoing Horn a Goodra V onto the bench, boss, knock it out, and then all you have to do from there is Star Portal onto your Radiant Greninja and Moonlight Shuriken, knock out 2 Compies for game, or something in that order will work. You don't have to get the Echoing Horn involved with your opponent. Just if you're able to just knock out a a Goodra V on the bench early in the game, and Palkia is very, very good at knocking out V Pokemon early in the game just because of its very quickly scaling damage output. 2 level balls, 4 quick balls. Now originally in this list I did have 3 quick balls and 1 Thornton, and I played, I think I counted, like, I played 16 games with 59 of these cards, and I used Thornton a singular time to get back a Manphy against Lost Fox. That was the only time I ever used it. Now in theory, Thornton is pretty good because it allows you to force Roxanne plays, force him to go down 3 price cards, and then just get a Palkia into play. It can turn your Empoleon into a Palkia V, and then it'll just evolve your Palkia V-Star after the Empoleon does its job. It can get, like I said, get back a Manphy. It seems like it has a lot of different uses, but I actually did not find myself needing to use it often, and so in the end I just cut it for quick ball, and more consistency is probably just better, so we're going to try that out. Then we have 2 copies of Scuba Net as well. Just Scuba Net is really, really good for returning Inteleon to our hand, and since it's good as well, Greninja if we need to get a couple more energy in the discard pile or draw a couple more cards. Stadiums are remaining unchanged from last format to now. We have 1 path and 1 training court. It's pretty normal. Path is very, very good against Mew in combination with Roxanne, and there's just some scenarios where Path is very, very good. If your opponent's relying on Arceus V-Star, that can be pretty nice. It's also just good. It's just very, very good. It turns out Greninja, things like that. Now, something to mention, do not put your Empoleon active expecting to shut down Compies and then put Path in play to shut off Lumineon and Radiant Greninja, because the Path will actually shut off your Empoleon, and they'll have access to their Compies again, which was arguably much more impactful than Lumineon and Greninja. So don't do that. Don't make that mistake that I've done in the past. We have 1 copy of Training Court. That's just a very, very good card. 1 copy of Boss, 4 Gyarados, which is pretty regular. 1 Leon, 1 Marnie, which I mentioned is very, very good in combination with Empoleon. And Marnie's just a good card against the decks that like to build hands. Course is very, very good at building a giant hand because it gets 3 out of the top 5 cards of your deck. Course is a very, very aggressive dig. Marnie's great against that. We have 1 copy of Melanie and 1 copy of Roxanne. And then 1 copy of Choice Belt, no Tool Jammer. Now, Tool Jammer is something you could add if you want to respect a Reggie with Path. Personally, I don't think respecting Reggie and respecting Path at the Peak all in the same deck is really worth it, so we're not running the Jammer. But Jammer is very, very good if you're expecting Reggie with Path at the Peak. And it also, Cheryl's also just a pretty interesting card and something I've thought about adding in here, because Cheryl can heal like Palkia V-Stars from Cramorants. You can keep your Palkia from being 3-shotted by a Cramorant and can heal Drizzles that maybe have damage on them from the Sableye. They're trying to make cool Sableye plays. Cheryl has some uses in this. Maybe it's worth it. I don't know. I haven't tested it out in this format yet. Played it a little bit at the beginning of the last format when I first started playing Palkia, but I cut it eventually. And we have 7 Water Energy. And that is my Palkia list. It's been working super, super well. I played it in a online tournament yesterday, the Tournament of Doom, and I was 5-1-1. And I bubbled at top 8. I got 9th place. So I would have made top 8 if my resistance wasn't as horrible as it was. And then I also brought this same list, minus the Quick Ball plus the Thorn for both of these tournaments. I brought 59 of these cards to locals and went 3-0. Round 1 I beat Arceus Dorado. Round 2 I beat Turbo Darkrai. And round 3 I beat Giratina V-Star. So the deck is very, very strong. It definitely has the capability of beating the Lost Zone decks, namely Giratina. But Empoleon is just such a good card, honestly, right now. It's really, really cool how many decks that Empoleon shuts down, and having access to Palkia as well. And Palkia, Palkia is obviously just an insanely strong attacker. But that's the deck, guys. That's the list. If you guys liked it, don't leave a like. If you guys want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. I do content like this all the time, so if you guys want to see more, don't forget to do that. Yep, that's it for the video, guys. Bit of a short one here. Hopefully tomorrow I'll have some videos out on the new cards. Yeah, see ya.